welcome to A Great Depression. And since this is one of, you know what, screw it, I'm sticking with it. This is a podcast for every mall rat, Jansport, backpack emo kid struggling with the boredoms of everyday adult life. And today I have maybe one of my dearest friends in the history of the earth joining me. What do you want to go by for this exactly? Which one of your several nicknames?
I mean, you can call me Enzo. That's fine.
Okay, we'll call him Enzo, the Mayday, the captain, the dad, the father, the grandfather, whatever you want to say, is joining us today. Hit the music. See, that was it.
And I was hoping I would hit the music. That's fine. I'll give it to you this time.
What music would you have hit?
I mean, whatever music you want to hit play to, but I just wanted to say hit the music. But that's all right.
Well, you say it this time.
That's all right. You already said it. And I've said it like 3 times now. So, fix it in post or don't, whatever.
No, it's, most of it. Actually, the episode that will be in front of you, when I originally recorded it with Curtis, it was 2.5 hours. And so I that's the first time I've ever cut an episode because it was just, I was like, this might be too long.
That's a long time. What did you talk about for 2.5 hours?
Well, you will have heard it by the time this comes out, but we talked about a lot of stuff. We talked the part that I really enjoyed was kind of towards the end when we talked about emo music and finding your place and why it's important and that kind of how artists create something and sometimes it can change your life. And I think it's a really important message and it's something that I don't normally get super in depth with, but it was really fun talking to Curtis about it because he is so he's so tied to the music and tied to different pieces of culture and pop culture that, he really strongly associates with those things. And I think it was a blast talking to him about that.
Is he a musician?
He is a musician.
I know.
He plays bass, actually.
Nice. Yeah. Probably better than I do.
I don't know. How long have you been playing bass?
That's a good question. It kind of came and went out of my life. I started playing like when I was a freshman in high school, I think. So like mid 90s. And then I played like for about 10 years solid. And then like life got in the way with partying and whatever. And I didn't play for years, like other than like walking by it every like once a month and picking it up for like 30 seconds. And then like when COVID hit, I kind of got back into it at that point. And I've been playing pretty consistently for the past like 1.5 to 2 years now. Like what I mean by that is like at least 15 minutes a day. Like even if it's only for like 15 minutes to sit down and actually focus on it, I'm just like dedicating that time to get back to doing something that I found so much joy when I was younger. So I'm still not as good as I used to be, which is kind of frustrating to me because I used to play all this cool stuff, I thought. And it's hard to like not be able to do that anymore. But it's like anything else. It's hard, so like, and it takes time. And I know you and Anna were trying to play guitar for a while. I don't know if you still are or not, but you know how hard it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I still find enjoyment out of it and I still play every day and I pick up random songs and licks here and there and just like rock out real loud in my basement. So it's cool. It's cool from that perspective. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever be like in a band or actually like on stage.
Yeah, until we start our compound in Montana, and then everyone in the compound has to listen to us play in our band.
Yeah, very poorly.
We just do shitty emo covers.
Yeah, that will be like the initiation to get into the compound. You get to listen to us play
this concert of
3 shitty emo covers.
So, okay, so wait a minute. Mid-90s, you're like, I'm going to play bass, which is just, like, I always wonder, like, how people get to the bass part. Because I'm always like, I want to be the lead singer, the guitar player. Like, I want to be at the front. And, like, bass is very much like a secondary instrument. It's a rhythm-keeping instrument. But so like, what are you listening to? Mid '90s teenager, and you pick up the bass. It's like you're what year are you a freshman exactly?
I was a freshman in '96, so
That's
I
what.
graduated in
Okay,
2000. Yeah.
like
Um.
'96 is like one of the peak years for music.
Uh. Yeah, it could be. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on like what you think is peak music, but I personally think the '90s are probably like one of the best decades as well, right? Because that was before all of the bullshit.
You're
I think some
go
of the
ahead.
laws changed, to be honest with you, but like the TV shows started to come out to like how to be a rock star and how to
Right.
make a living by getting voted on by popularity contests and whatnot. So I think that kind of like changed the landscape of music. You got all those boy bands popping up after that.
Right. Right.
So like to me, I think the '90s were kind of like peak experimental, like the last experimental decade of music. To be honest with you, but like to answer your question, so a few things happened. Like my best friend in high school played the guitar, so he was like, "Well, don't learn how to play the guitar because I already know how." So I was like, "All right, so what
That
can
makes
I do?"
sense.
So it's like the bass is easy, and my uncle at the time too, he's in a lot of rock bands at the time, and he was like, "There's so many guitarists and so many lead singers out there. Like, if you really want to like pick something up that there's a need for, like, learn the bass." So I was like, "All right, cool. Like, I'm not really gravitated to one thing or the other anyway. So like, let's do this." Um, so that's what I did, and like, I think the biggest influence for me was Timmy Comerford from Rage Against the Machine. Like that was and probably is like my all time favorite bands. And
And that's when Evil Empire came out in '96. That's why, like, that was one of the
yeah,
ones where I was like, man, I know there were some influential albums in '96, and that was I figured that would be one.
yeah. And like to a lesser extent, like everyone was big into the Red Hot Chili Peppers back then with Flea, and then obviously Primus. And like I like the slap bass. I like the way it sounds, but I was never good at it, so it wasn't anything that I ever like dedicated a lot of time to. Um, and now like looking back and kind of following like Timmy C's progression from Rage Against the Machine into his other bands that he's been in, like he kind of like has been on record saying like he like tried to simplify things, and like even instead of playing with like two or three fingers, he'd like go back down to one finger to like really get the groove and like really nail the groove down, and like make the bass sound really good, even though it's like the simplest form, right? Like make single notes sound really good. Um, and I think that kind of like shows through with his music, and it's kind of something that over the years I kind of took to heart, and like that's kind of how I try to play now as well. Um, so you like get away from the slap and like all the tapping and stuff, and like there's obviously a place for that, and people that are good at it are great at it. But it's not really anything I ever like wanted to do or like learn with the bass. It was always like getting back to the foundational roots. And even when I found myself picking it back up now, I was like gravitating more towards um, like the Motown sound and like more of like a blues type of thing where it's like just like solid bass lines that you can kind of just like move your head to, and just like get into the music. Um, so that's kind of what I've been focusing my efforts on. I think it's paid off. I don't know. Like I still enjoy like going down that avenue, and I still play some Rage songs from back in the day, and I still know a lot of them, which is cool. So yeah,
That's really that's really. I mean, like one, like I'm often envious because I think though I got to live through the '90s, I did not get the '90s experience of being like a teenager in the
yeah.
'90s, which is probably good because I don't know how I would have handled all the drugs. Uh,
Dude, I mean, honestly, like it was a free for all. Like I had a cell phone my senior year, I think, but it was like a flip phone, and you could not obviously take video or pictures with it. So like nobody could get a hold of you. Like when you left the house, you were gone, and you did whatever the hell you wanted. Um, did a lot of drinking and partying in fields in Louisiana. I went to high school in Louisiana. Um, and yeah, that's kind of like how we grew up, like in the fields around bonfires, drinking and smoking. like when we shouldn't have been.
And yeah, I mean,
But
like
yeah, I mean, it
I
was
got,
weird.
I got a touch of it. You know what I mean? Where like we
Yeah,
had the one house with the cool parents, right? And that was where we
yeah.
spent our time. But like, not like to the point where you could just disappear off the face of the earth. That was far from gone at that
Oh
point.
yeah, yeah. Um, when did you graduate?
2008.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, you would have been quite a bit younger at that point, I guess.
Yeah, I would have been 6.
So like you could have had, I mean, you definitely probably went out with your friends and caused a scene out in the woods and like did some dumb shit. Maybe probably try to start the forest on fire or something. But you weren't out there drinking, that's for sure.
Oh no, we well not at 6. No.
Yeah.
Um, no, at 6, the thing that was the biggest thing in my world, Pokemon had come out,
Oh yeah.
and that
Yeah.
was my everything, and still to this day
Yeah.
is such a huge part of my attachment to, I don't know, like my childhood, and like right now being unemployed is a giant part of my personality. I play Pokemon all the time because I'm just bored and I got nothing else to do.
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah, so currently I'm trying to play through all of them, which I've played through
Yeah.
like most of them, just as life went along. But now I'm going back and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, what's this Diamond Pearl about? Like, what's
have,
so?
have you found going back to play those games, like, has your strategy changed at all? Or do you still kind of like go through them like you did before?
Do you really want me to get into this?
I mean, I don't play them. I've never played them. So I don't really know. Like, I guess I wouldn't know regardless of how you answered. I was just curious. Like,
Yeah. So it's actually
going back to something from your childhood, like it's always weird, right? Like I have fond memories of certain things from my childhood, and like looking back on them, it's like, were they really that cool? I don't know, maybe.
no,
So like
Pokemon's
just
so
from like
cool.
that perspective, yeah,
Pokemon's so cool, though. It's been cool. It'll always be cool. Um,
yeah,
and I know it's cool because I have friends that are my age that have kids now, and they're giving them
we're still
Pokemon,
playing it.
and the
Yeah,
kids are like, "This is the best thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." Like, duh.
yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, the strategy. So, with anything that lasts for almost 3 decades, like
Yeah.
Pokemon will be 30 in 2030. Wait, 2026.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like anything that lasts that long, like it changes and evolves over time, right? So, Pokemon, used to just be like 6 categories. You'd be leaf, fire, water, whatever, right? And then it was pretty straight up. Like this one beats this one does, this one's bad against this one, whatever. And it was pretty, simple that you wanted your Pokemon to evolve 3 times. That means they're probably stronger than one that you get that doesn't evolve or only evolves twice. And like figuring that kind of stuff out was pretty simple. Plus, we had the TV show to go off of that kind of like
All right.
showed and explained positives and negatives from all of them. Now, as we're in the newest one that just came out, we're in a world where or what shit Violet and something, I don't remember.
You can lie. I mean, I will not know if you lied to me. That's why.
Well, but they'll know.
Just make
They'll
something
know
up.
in there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They'll know in their headphones. But the Violet and Scarlet, that's what it is. In the new ones, we have so many Pokemon, and they aren't just one type anymore. And actually, some of them have up to 3 types, and it's not true anymore that 3 evolutions is better than 1 or none. And the strategy has changed so dramatically because the Pokemon, even like you could catch 2 Pikachus and they could be wildly different. Like one of them may be stronger defensively, one may be better offensively, one may not be able to learn certain moves that the other one can learn because of its nature. Like one's aggressive, one's defensive, like all this kind of stuff.
And
So
then
I
they
mean,
evolve differently because of that too, right?
right? Like everything has
So
really changed.
yeah, so that changes everything. Like
Right.
the strategy is wouldn't be the same because it can't be at that point. Like,
And it's still funny because like ultimately, like, I've played multiple generations now, and there's still Pokemon that like you're like, oh, you see it and you catch it because you're like, that's something. And even what I found most recently in the newest game was, traditionally you kind of get your starting six around the teens, maybe the early 20s, and then you ride those six through the rest of the game. Very rarely are you switching
Uh,
out for something you find later in the game. Whereas in the most recent version, the gyms and the different things you have to complete are so diverse that you're constantly changing through your top six. I would say like three of them stayed, and then I was rotating a constant three in and out. And I actually didn't even finish with my starter because the starter
oh
just was
wow.
so
Yeah.
inferior to what I was able to catch and evolve and whatever. So, um, pretty wild. It's been a lot of fun, and I don't know. It's just it's. I'm not very good at video games, and it's one that
I'm not supposed to either.
oh man, I just can't. Like, I'm not hand-eye coordinated enough to do any of the like shooter World of Warcraft or World
Yeah,
of
no,
Warfare,
me
whatever.
neither.
So like,
The games I always play are like racing games. Like that's it. Like I'm big on racing games, and like that was like my main thing. But yeah,
and mine's role play, right? Is each character
yeah.
gets a turn, and it's about strategy and when you play what and that kind of thing. So that's what
All right,
Pokemon is, right? But yeah. What is
perfect.
the one thing that you visited from your childhood that's still cool?
It's still cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a good question. I don't know. I can name a lot of things that aren't cool.
Name the things that aren't cool.
Like the things that come to mind are like certain books that I read, like certain like young adult fantasy books about dragons and whatnot that I read when I was a childhood. I tried to go back to read some of them as an adult, and I was like, I can't do this.
Like
It
what?
like
You can't just like be that vague.
I know I can't think of the name of the books that I'm thinking of right now. There was like a series of them though. Um, they revolved around like dragon's milk and like I can't remember what the name of them was. I first read them when I was in like sixth grade though, like in the early '90s, and then I tried to go back like 10 years ago to reread them, and it was like no.
90s books about
I was
dragons.
I was trying to. I used to have them. I used to have a set of them here, but I don't think I have them anymore because they were bad, so I threw them out.
The Last
Well, I didn't
Dragon
throw them out, but like
Chronicles? Is that it?
maybe I would look them up as well, but my internet's not working right now.
You're fine. It's like
Um,
it seems like all the book jackets are like different colored dragons and it's just their eyes.
hmm, that doesn't sound familiar, but to be honest with you, like when I bought them, they were different from when I saw them
True.
originally. Um, there initially it was like a trilogy, and then there was like another one that came on later on down the road. It it very well could be that. I don't know. Um, but yeah, just like some nostalgia stuff like that. And like some board games, I will tell you this. Like my wife and I bought that game Life. I don't know if you ever played that game Life, where you
Mm-hmm.
like have a little dial you spin and you get a little car and babies and shit. Um, I think that game held up pretty well. Like that game's still pretty fun to play. It's pretty cheesy and like it's kind of stereotypical and maybe not so PC these days, but um, it's fun. It's fun to kill time playing that game. Um, I'm trying to think what was around when I was growing up when I was real little. The Gremlins were big. I'm sure you've seen that movie.
Oh, and Gremlins
Um,
2 is so bad.
well, see, that's the things too. So like, I don't know if I thought they were good when I watched them the first time because I was too young and I can't really remember. Um, but I imagine watching them now, they're just awful because of the just like the effects and the way movies are made now. I can't imagine those are good.
I think the first one holds
Um,
up. The first one's still
yeah,
fun. The fun, it's imaginary and like you can still get into it. It's like 2 when there's like the gremlin that talks and the gremlin with boobs and like all that other shit that you're like,
yeah,
maybe this was too much.
yeah, yeah. That's a little weird. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I I can't remember. A lot of that too. I kind of left in the past. Like I kind of like shut the door on that and like have moved on for whatever reason,
Hmm.
whatever.
I'm sure your therapist can unpack that for you.
Yeah, I haven't been to a therapist in a long time. I probably should go back, to be honest with you, but that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's like I think too that's something that, as both of us are like adults with careers and jobs and married and don't have kids, that like
Yeah,
you kind of like I know I walk that line all the time where like because of the way I dress and the things I'm into, like I'm in this weird limbo where like I haven't like settled down and had the kids and done all that. I'm not planning on it, but I'm also way past the point where I should be wearing, like trendy clothing. Um, but
yeah,
still
yeah.
like, I have the little I call it like the condom cap, but it's like the little like the tiny knit hat. You know what I'm talking
Oh yeah,
about?
like the little fisherman style.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's very
Yeah,
popular now and every time I put it on I'm like, look at this old man in this hat.
dude, seriously, and like I don't think I've ever been trendy. Like I wore Jinkos in the '90s, like a lot of kids did, and then I like graduated to cargo shorts, and like I still wear cargo shorts and band t-shirts. Like I don't know how cool that is, but uh, with the Crocs, we uh we exude cool. But um, yeah, I wear those same hats, and like you got longer hair. I've got long hair. I don't know that I need to have this long of hair and look the way and dress the way I do in my fourth fucking decade on this planet, but here we are. Like it's whatever. I'm not gonna stop, right? Like
Right.
I,
What
I'm not gonna let my age dictate that. And like I don't have kids. I'm not gonna have kids. Um, so why should I conform to that whole like dad lifestyle when I'm not one? I
I
don't know.
think the thing that my hair has always been, and my facial hair has always been a point of contention. Whether it's like a lot of the times as a kid, it was like oh he looks like a girl, right? Which always
Oh yeah.
sucked. But then as an adult, it became a problem where I was working, where they would like ask
Oh,
me to cut my hair and tell me that my hair was too long and that I looked unprofessional or I looked dirty or whatever. And because of that, every time I've started a new job, I've cut off all my hair. Like normally, what ends up
oh yeah.
happening, I start a job clean shaven and like with not a lot of hair, and then I let it all grow out over the time, and then like the
Right.
cycle starts again. So this time, I'm attempting to not cut my hair to start a new job.
You can do it.
I
I
d-
did it. Like so
okay.
it was like the same it was the same thing for me too. Like coming out of college, like high school and college, like my parents and society, I guess, were like, "You're going into the workforce. You have a college degree. Like it's a professional setting. Like
Which would
everyone's
in
clean shaven
like
and
2004 ish.
yeah,
Okay, all
ish,
right.
yeah, mid 2000s.
Nickelback is kicking
Um,
everyone's ass at this point.
yeah, yeah. Everyone's a fan of Nickelback, man. But anyway, um, so that was like the standard, right? Like you're supposed to go into these job interviews with a clean shave and a nice professional haircut. And it's like then you get in there and you see all these crusty old white dudes who look like they haven't showered in 3 weeks, and it's like, well, how can this guy look like that, but I have to look like this? So I kind of got over that and just like started going crazy with it. When I moved to Pittsburgh in 2013, I think that was the first time I didn't have that mindset though. Too like I went in there like with a full beard and like a shaggy haircut and was like, this is what I have to offer. Like if you want to hire me, go ahead. If not, I'll find something else. Um, and now with this job I got here a couple of years ago, like it's all online. I don't see anybody anyway. I don't even leave the house. So who cares? But it took me like 10 years to get to that point myself. So
Yeah, I think I mean that's where I'm about at that 10-year point where I'm like, listen, I've been doing this for 10 years. I have a track record. I can prove that I'm good at my
right.
job. Like, do my hair and mustache matter to you that much? Like, really honest to God. Because if it doesn't, good. Otherwise, I really don't care at this point.
You should definitely grow that neck beard out though. That might help you get a job.
Brutal. It's brutal, though. I like have you seen the
I know.
You probably don't get advertisements for this because you have incredible facial hair. For those who aren't watching and just listening, Enzo looks like, I don't even, like, his hair's down past his shoulders and it's like curly and thick, and then he has a full beard that sometimes he shaves into the coolest mustache or sideburns Fu Manchu that you've ever seen. Um,
Yeah, I really go crazy with it. I don't care.
but they have like the derma rollers now that like you're supposed
Oh
to,
yeah,
yeah, and that's supposed to like
yes.
gauge the hair follicles in your cheeks and stuff. I'm like, that's not going to change
Does that
anything.
work?
No,
I cannot imagine that would work.
I tried really hard in like the when did I can't I can point, it was like right before we started Thoughts from the Bench. So it was like probably like 2016 where I was growing out the neck beard hard.
Yeah.
And I was like the cheeks will come along eventually. And I had like I was part of the beard club and used like the oil that you rub on your face and whatnot, and like none of that changed. It didn't matter.
No. I think I sported a neck beard once for like a week. I was like coming down from a beard like this, so I just shaved everything except for my neck. And I think my mom was like, "Don't do that," and like she like made me shave. She like basically forced me to shave. I was like, "All right, yeah, you're probably right. It's probably not a good look,
The
but
must
it's whatever. I mean, it's just hair. It'll grow back or it won't or whatever. I mean, who
Yeah.
cares?"
The mustache really took like a long time for that to even kind of develop into something that wasn't like totally fucking embarrassing. Um and that was just out of like desperation to have facial hair that I just was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep growing this mustache till it looks okay. And then realizing that my hair on my face is pretty straight. So like I can do
Oh,
the big Raleigh fingers
yeah,
mustache, and that's, but we'll see what
yeah.
happens next.
I used to have one of those too. I'm sure you've seen pictures or
You had
you
it
might have
when
seen
I
it.
met you.
Did I? Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to wax it and like it was like a process.
Hmm.
It's much easier just to let it go instead of like actually caring what it looks like, to be
Right.
honest.
Right. Right.
Are you going to grow yours back out though to where you can wax it and roll it up or what?
I'm gonna try now to let,
Yeah.
because so when I shaved it after the March Madness run last year, and I had been letting it grow for over a calendar year at that point. And so, like, I mean, it was thick, and like the pictures from that point were like, I mean, it's thick, but I was eating it, and I couldn't deal with the eating it anymore. And
Hmm.
it also, as anybody that's ever kissed somebody with a mustache knows, that it holds smells.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
It's very gross.
yeah. So,
I certainly wouldn't. I certainly would not kiss myself with
yeah,
this growth on my face. Like it's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
I would not
That's a
kiss
fact.
myself. So I'm trying to go more, just like contained, but also like letting it get bush. Like it probably won't. I won't let it grow physically more than it is now, but just let it get thicker.
Yeah. Like grow out. Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
we'll see. Who knows? Or
Well, good luck. I mean,
hey
you can
man,
do it. You just have to don't shave it.
it's
It's pretty
that,
easy.
or I get this phone call from this like super corporate place that's like, we're gonna offer you $120,000 a year, but, and I'll be like, fine, I'll
Yeah.
just start shaving everything, which will be brutal. What are you like? What are you listening to right now? Because I think, you know, a Great Depression, like music is such a big thing. We talk about it all the time, but your music tastes
Yeah.
have always fascinated me. And actually, you and I have gotten in this fun little thing where I was sending you Wyoming shit for free,
Yeah.
and then you would send me records back. And it was
Yeah. I
like
you know
fun relationship, but I had never heard of the two bands that you had sent me last year, and I'm curious what you're digging on right now.
who did I send you last year anyway? I can't even remember.
The Human, or is that it? The Human Organ.
I
Una
don't think
Memento.
so.
You talk. I'll look on my disc dogs and I'll tell you.
Okay. So that's a good question. I was having this conversation with somebody not too long ago, and they were like, what kind of new music are you listening to now?" And they were asking me specifically about like Cali roots reggae and stuff of that nature because that's what they
Ooh.
listen to, which I like a lot as well, right? So, but I was like explaining to her like I'm to the age now to where I stopped listening to new music. So
Oh
like
no, you're
what like
dying.
whatever like yes, I am. But it's like whatever I listened to like 10 years ago, like that's pretty much what I listen to now. And it's kind of sad because I used to put a lot of like time and effort into it. And like in the true like emo nature of things, like I was always like very proud of finding all these random bands first and being like, listen to this person, like they're fucking cool. And now it's like I couldn't tell you any band that has made music in the last year that's new. Like I don't prioritize it like I used to, I guess. Um, but like yeah, I still listen to a lot of reggae, like mainly because I like the way it sounds. Like I like the beat of it, and like it puts me in a good mood. So it's not something that like I can listen to and get all pissed off about. It's like especially at work, like it's just something I can put in the background and kind of like tone out, but still like get the groove and like still kind of like enjoy it.
So you sent
Um,
me The Good Life and Two Galantis.
oh yeah, yeah, the Good Life. That's right. So both of them are from a record label out of Omaha, Nebraska, um, which I lived there for a while. And like they were always around playing shows um, in the community and whatnot. So like that's kind of I think that's why I sent those two to you at the time, just to give you like a little flavor of Omaha. Um, but also you don't like Bright Eyes, do you? Or like Connor Oberst, like you do not like his voice or something.
No,
Like did you tell me that at one point?
I didn't realize that it was Bright Eyes. I was like listening
Oh,
to it, and Anastasia's like, "That's Bright Eyes." I was like, "No, it's this band." And she's like, "No, dingus,
yeah.
that's Bright Eyes."
Or the guy or from Cursive, right? Like he wasn't he the lead singer of Cursive?
Was he? That's a good question,
Uh,
Zoe. I'll Google it. Cursive
yeah,
band
Google it.
lead singer Tim Cashier.
Yeah,
Casher.
that's it.
That's him. Well, there you go.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, because I was gonna send you a
Oh my God, this guy's been in every band. Tim Casher.
he gets around.
He does. A little
Um,
slutty.
I was gonna send you an album from Desperacidos, but that is the lead singer from Bright Eyes, Connor Oberst. He's the one that front lines that band as well. So I thought I remembered you saying that you didn't like him or didn't like Bright Eyes or his voice or something. So I was like, well, shit, I can't send him that because
I
it
don't
doesn't really
know.
sound similar, but
I don't know that I've
I don't
played
know.
Bright Eyes enough to have an opinion on them. Um, like Curtis and I were talking about this on last week's episode that like I didn't find out about Brand New until emo was done and buried.
Mm,
I found out
yeah.
about them in college when I started hanging out with my friends and started dating Anastasia, and they were all like, "Yeah, Brand New's the greatest band ever," and I was like, "What's this band?" So like the non-commercial side of that genre, I was not exposed to, and really, I think the only like the deep track or the deep cut of that I liked or earlier was Bayside, and that was it. And the only
Yeah.
reason I think I liked that was because I just MTV2 that was on there, and I was just like, okay, cool. I like Devotion and Desire. That
Yeah.
you know what? It was my manager at Hot Topic, Jesse. Shout out Jesse Pop Punk. Was like, here are the bands you're going to like for the next 10 years. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like it was that Newfound Glory. Those were like the two centerpieces to that kind of kicked me into that genre pretty hardcore.
Gotcha. So like you came in obviously a little bit later, but so like some of my favorite bands from that are like way earlier than that, like Sunny Day Real Estate
Hmm.
and American Football, which like
Hmm.
obviously are from like the 90s and early 2000s, whereas you're talking about a little bit later. And I think at that point, like I still listen to a lot of that stuff. Um, I find myself going back to like Sunny Day Real Estate and Cursive a lot for some reason. Um, I don't know. I'm just like stuck in that era, I guess. And like when I was in high school, I listened to a lot of that like new metal stuff, which did not age very well. Like Tool is pretty good still, but like a
Excuse
lot of that
you.
stuff's kind of hard to listen
Excuse
to right
you.
now.
Fuck you. Take it back.
Come
Take it.
on.
Take it all the way back. First off,
Yeah.
Hybrid Theory is still one of the most inventive albums in the history of music.
When did that come out?
That would have been 2000.
Okay. I remember I don't remember when that came out, but I remember like all of my friends jumping on that Linkin Park bandwagon and I was just like, yeah, it's okay. But like I mean they definitely have a lot of good hits, right? Like you can't deny that. And I listen to them more now than I did back then, I think. But
What about
um
System?
yeah, I still listen to a lot of that.
I mean,
Um
I just listened to Toxicity the other day and like became angry for no reason. Like I was perfectly fine and then started playing and I was just like, yeah, they are trying to build a fucking prison and I hate it.
yeah. Yeah, some of that stuff like I hate to say it, but like it still hits well because of the situation we're still in. Like nothing's changed, obviously, and like all of that politically fueled music. Like I loved it back then, and I still do. You know, and like I think my aunt told me this one time. She was like, you're a Democrat now because you're young, but as soon as you grow up and become older and have more experience in the world, you're gonna lean to the right." And it's like I when she said that, I was like, yeah, maybe so. I don't know. We'll see. And like now that I'm here, it's like, no, like Democrats are too far right. Like
Yeah.
I can't imagine like thinking living my life thinking that stuff, you know. So like I go back to that music and I'm like, fuck yeah, this still rocks. Like this is still good.
Yeah.
Um
That was
and even like on the hip hop side too, like Dead Prez used to be like one of my favorite hip hop artists. They still kick ass. And like Public Enemy, obviously. Just like all that stuff from the 90s. Like I still listen to. My wife got me a tape cassette player, a boombox for Christmas, you know. So like I'm trying to go back and like find all these old cassette tapes. And like 90s hip hop on cassette was huge, right?
right.
Um, so I'm like trying to go through and like find all these used tapes online I can buy up and shit so I can have something to listen to while I train. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like I'm like almost like reverting back to stuff like from the 90s that I wish I would have listened to more when I was in the moment almost. You
Okay,
know?
so let's talk about that because I think that's something. Well, one, the physical media, right? Like that is
Yeah.
something that I'm craving, and that's something that Anastasia and I make this joke that eventually we're just going to move into a cabin in the woods and not tell anybody.
That would
Like
be great.
only physical media. So like
Yeah.
all like I'm only taking like the 64, the Super Nintendo, my Game Boys, and records, and that's it. Um,
Yeah.
but like reclaiming a lot of those albums has been tough, especially some of the stuff in the 90s and early 2000s because it is all CD and cassette. And I'm like, do I really want to get that deep into it? But now that you have it, I have to have it because you've made it
Yeah.
cool. So now I have to get a tape player.
I'm the coolest cat around. I will say this, like CDs as far as a media platform, I think are garbage. Like they're odd shaped, they scratch, they sound like shit if they do scratch, and like tapes are like I think like the easiest thing to like put in your pocket and go with. Like grab a Walkman, put a tape in your pocket, you can run with it, you can throw it on the ground, it's not gonna skip or anything.
Especially if
Like
you're
you
wearing
can't do that
cargo
with
shorts.
CDs. Exactly. You got the space for it. Why not put it in there?
Right.
But like I remember when like those Discmans came out and like everyone was like trying to run with them and shit, and it's like that doesn't work. Like you can't do anything with them. Um, but yeah, just like that physical media, having that like in your hands and being able to touch it, I think there's something to be said for that. But
That's
like
been,
tapes
yeah,
are,
so much.
yeah, they're kind of making like a comeback a little bit. So, and I had some old tapes of like my uncle's band from back in the 90s when he was doing stuff. And like I had it created digitally as well, but it's just not the same. So I wanted something to be able to put those tapes in and listen to them again. So that's what I did. And now I'm like on this kick of like trying to find old tapes. It's kind of fun. Um, we do a lot of antiquing and thrift shopping. Um, and there's always tapes around in records. It's fun to flip through. It smells good, you know, it
The
just like
smell is good.
it elicits something in me that like is fun. So like yeah, it's kind of why I do it. But
What bands? So you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. What bands are you like going back and digging deeper into that catalog? I know for me, I actively made the decision that I was going to listen to every Red Hot Chili Peppers album, and
oh yeah, that's a good one.
that would be the band that I would dig in and go into that back catalog and figure out, because like, I knew the hits growing up, and as I turned into my teenage years, like there were three major bands for me: Incubus, Sublime, and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And a lot of it was Californication, and then the new stuff, and particularly like even still to this day when Snow comes on, like I get transported to this different place where I used to be happy and had enough serotonin in my brain. Uh, but
God, I miss those days.
I know, me too. But
Yeah.
I've gone back and have just found this wealth of stuff, and it's not the hits that I'm enjoying. Like, yeah, the hits are still the hits, right? But like Give It Away is still a banger. But it's like Cypher Song and Zeppelin and like some of the more like tripped out, surfer rocky psychedelic ones. And
Oh yeah.
now
Yeah.
their new stuff sounds like that. So now I'm even more like, it has really just created this frenzy where like the Red Hot Chili Peppers have moved all the way up my list to being like, they used to be like top 20, then they were probably top 10. Now they're like top 3 on any given day. And
Yeah.
like, that's my like every day I wake up, put it on, Dose is the first song on that playlist, and then I just fucking zone out for the rest of the day.
I should try to do that too with the Red Hot Chili Peppers because I haven't really listened to them extensively in a long time, probably since high school. But um, one of the things like growing up in the 90s and like being a child in the 80s even, um, like you didn't have digital media, so there wasn't like just the hits. Like I remember my parents when I was younger, like you would buy an album or a tape or a CD or whatever, and like you would just put it in and let it play, right? So like the concept of like B sides, like it wasn't really a thing. Like obviously that's where the term came from because you had to flip the record, but um, it's not like we were missing those because we listened to the albums front to back constantly. And I don't know that I don't know why people don't have that same like attention span today. Probably because everything is instant, right? And like you can create a playlist with 100 artists and 100 songs. You're not forced to listen to the album front to back. Um, but I've always done that. So like I don't know that I never like didn't do that. Um, so exploring old stuff is a little bit different. It's just like re-experiencing it, I guess. Um, but one of the bands I kind of wanted to do that with, I haven't really gone that far yet, is Nirvana because like a lot of their stuff
Mm,
is hard to come by anyway. And
yep.
they did so many things on like 7 inch and random, like very limited release stuff. It's just like not out there. But it would be nice. And I picked up the reason they came to mind is because I picked up a tape from one of their live shows back in like the early 90s somewhere. Um, and it's got like all I don't want to say all the hits, but it's like it was all the like the more popular stuff. But it was before it was like commercialized, right? So it was like the rough cut edition, which like sounds very different than what would be on Nevermind or whatever. So like trying to dive back into that stuff is is kind of where I want to like put my focus. Um,
Yeah.
so not necessarily like going back to their old like hits or even like commercial successes so much as like digging in and trying to find shit that was unreleased or on the underground from the beginning is kind of where I like deviate to when I'm at my computer bored looking for something to listen to.
I think I think part of why, like, particularly like the Red Hot Chili Peppers are such an interesting like deep dive for me is because a lot of that stuff I wasn't allowed to have the CD.
Why is that?
Well,
Like
because
your parents just didn't want it?
yeah, the lyrical content or the, you know what I mean, like when I got hot dog flavored or chocolate starfish hot dog flavored water, like it was censored.
I love that title. It's such a good
It's
title.
such a good title, and
Um,
now knowing what it means, like even
yeah,
as a kid,
right.
you're like, "That's a cool thing." I don't know what that means, but
Yeah,
now you're like, "Yeah, this is
no,
fucking sweet."
yeah,
Um,
totally.
but like I didn't, so like a lot of the songs, were ruined that weren't radio hits because it was just beep beep beep. Um,
Oh yeah,
and they had to learn their lesson the hard way when they gave me Californication that wasn't censored. And I had
yeah,
questions and was, playing it with my friends, and then my friends would be like hearing, some of the lyrical content of that one. But
yeah.
like, I think it's this whole so like a lot of that is like me even getting to hear some of these songs for the first time because I didn't have, the full versions of some of the more dicier stuff, and it wasn't until LimeWire and, kind of turning into my teenage years where like the reins got taken off a little bit, and then I was, like System of a Down and that kind of thing was much more. Yeah,
Oh yeah. I think I kind of had a head start on that too because I've got an older sister. She's 4 years older than me,
that's a huge
and
advantage. My brother never had this problem.
yeah. So like she was big into hip hop back then too. So um, like Too Short, like she had all the Too Short records, and like those are just disgusting. Um, 2 Live Crew, I've got a
Yeah.
2 Live Crew tape. I think I probably shared it in the dad chat, but like that's just like a dirty fucking album, and like I don't know if my parents didn't know or maybe they didn't pay that much attention to it, but like that's kind of like what I grew up on, you know. And looking back, it's like that might not be appropriate for it in the seventh grade or whatever, but like I don't know, like what are you gonna do,
That's we've been
That's why
watch
that's part of why I don't have kids, but
we've been watching that '70s show, and it's pretty comical, like what the parents overlook. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like when there's one great scene where Eric comes up after they get done smoking from the basement, and he's like, "You smell like something. Go take a shower." And it's like he smells like weed, but they just didn't know that was
yeah,
fucking weed. Like, you know what I mean?
right,
I feel like
yeah.
maybe in the '90s that existed a little bit, and it's all
Uh, Probably, yeah. I mean, I can remember multiple times of me being out in the driveway or going for a ride with my friends and coming back after hotboxing the car and like obviously smelling like weed, right? And like,
right.
what are you gonna do? Like, you run to your bedroom and like change your clothes and like hope it's not too bad. I don't know. Like, either they didn't know what was going on or they did and were just like, what an idiot, and just like let me be an idiot. Like I have no idea. But that happened a lot. Yeah. It was just like the way it was. I don't know.
It's also pre all the bullshit, right? It's pre Columbine, it's pre 9/11, it's
Yeah.
pre,
Yeah.
the to bring up System Down again, the military industrial complex hasn't quite set in yet. So like
Yeah.
there's a little bit more loose feeling in the country, and probably with their kids too, because they grew up, they were the kids in that '70s show. So yeah, it was great. They know. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
so what? He smells like
Yeah.
weed. It never hurt anybody. Well, yeah, they weren't
Right. They
putting
probably didn't give a
fentanyl in
shit.
drugs in the '70s.
Yeah, right. It's like a whole different ball game now. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I'm glad it's legal now, at least in Michigan where I am. Um, and regulation, you can say what you want about that, but at least you know what you're getting.
Right.
I'm not gonna die of some random overdose because I don't do those drugs anymore. So it's like one less thing to worry about, right? Like I can smoke weed and not worry about my face falling off. I just like have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been I can't imagine, just from like things I've heard from people who have, teenagers and preteens now, like, my old boss used to have a problem where like he would find like a bunch of fucking vapes in his kid's room. And what's even worse is you don't know what they are.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, unless you're gonna hit it, you know what I mean? You don't know if it's weed or just, tobacco, or what the fuck is in there.
Yeah. Right.
I can't imagine trying to raise a kid and TikTok and your phone and all that fucking shit. Like, no thanks. I got enough problems babysitting me sometimes. I don't need to worry.
Seriously, like I have a hard enough time keeping track of myself, let alone somebody else. I don't know how people do it. Like, especially now, it's a lot, way more than I want to deal with.
Right. Um, let's talk about training. Because
I was going to ask you,
oh,
are we going to get through this whole podcast without talking about training at all? Because
no,
that would be amazing.
You boys back in the gym, man. You boys back in the
I know.
gym.
So,
oh shit! I just ripped out my headphones. I was flexing too hard.
Damn.
That's electric. All right, there we go.
You got to slow down.
I don't
so
care.
I was going to ask you a question about that because you said something on a podcast like 2 episodes ago, maybe. Well, 3 now after this other one comes out. But you said when you and Anastasia go to the gym, you like don't want to fuck around. You put your head down, you get to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know what changed, because when we were at Selly's, you did the opposite of that. You did a lot of fucking around. So I mean, it's good to see that you're back in it, but like, what's going on?
You know what?
You're gonna get back on the platform anytime soon?
Never back on the platform. My body still hurts from that one time. But I am undefeated. So
yeah, I mean, I can't say that, so that's something.
That's right. I think it's funny because I think the reason I was that way at Selly. So Selly's, to give context, was a powerlifting gym based in Pittsburgh. Still is a powerlifting gym based in Pittsburgh, where we had quite literally one of the legends teaching these dumb group of 20 and 30 somethings how to powerlift. And Ryan Selly is a legend of the game, and just a great dude to learn from and be around and all that kind of stuff. And that gym, particularly when we were running in it, was so serious that it needed the other side of it. Like, it needed somebody to be a little clowny and a little silly and a little, like, we don't need to be like screaming at each other because we're both using the squat rack. Like, we can be friends here. We can have a community. And so
it definitely got heavy in there at times. Yeah, it got a little thick.
It did, but also like that was I still think, Anastasia and I talk about it a lot. It was still one of the coolest parts in time periods in my life because we had a click. Everybody, it was one of those things where I've realized in my life that you're in a special part of time in your life when you can show up to a place and one of your friends is already there, even though you didn't text them, you didn't have to you just like, everybody knows, like, you're going, and there's going to be somebody else there, and you've got your click, and that's your spot. Like, that's a special time in your life, and that's what Selly's was when the dads were going, and Kara and Dana, and I mean, all of them were. I mean, that was just a blast. Micah, Kaylee, it was just so much fun. And I think Ryan hated it a little bit because we weren't maybe as serious as we should have been. But I also
but you know what? Like, looking back, like, none of us were gonna do anything like he was anyway. Like, he was a former all-time world record holder. We're a bunch of clowns, like we. I don't think any of us even had the aspiration of pretending to be that good.
No, I think most of us couldn't even cut weight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. People bellyache about cutting 5 pounds. It's like, I don't think we have what it takes.
But that was, you could also see it in his eyes, though, when he would walk in on a Saturday and it was heavy day and everybody was just getting it going and the tunes got a little louder. And, I mean, those were special moments.
Those are some of the best training days, I think, on Saturday mornings. Like, everyone was in there deadlifting and like everybody looked out for each other. It was nice. That's one of the things I miss the most about Pittsburgh, I think. And We went, Sarah and I went back for Christmas, and I got tattooed back here, and we hung out there a little bit, and we talked about it. Um, and like I don't know, even if we were all back put in that same situation, if it would be the same, because like so much has changed since then, and it was just like one of those things that like you just have to like enjoy the memory, I think,
Yeah.
because it will never be what it was.
Well, and I
But
think
it was
too,
great.
the best part of it was is that there were these tiers, right? There was like the you and Kara tier where you guys knew what you were doing, and then you weren't afraid to give that knowledge to the younger dumb tier, right? Where like
Yeah,
we didn't know
right.
what the fuck we were doing. Like I even still to this day, the way I do the lat pull down in the row is the way you taught me to do it. And Anastasia's
Yeah.
like, why do you do it that way? I was like, because Zoe taught me to, and that's the way you're supposed to do it. um, but I think like
That's so
that.
funny though. No, go ahead.
I just think that that was. I mean, that's what partially made it special. And then Joey and I were kind of like the mid tier Conroy, and then another tier was coming in underneath us at that point. And then unfortunately, they had to change spaces, and that kind of blew up the whole vibe. But
Yeah, that really
yeah,
screwed everything up. Um, I'm curious to talk to Joey about it now though, and I know they've got like a couple of different groups in there that train and um do their thing. But I'm since Joey's been on both sides now, I'm curious like what he thinks about how it like really compares to what it used to be.
yeah,
Um, I saw Ryan and talked to him quite a bit in December when I competed. Um, he'll never say one way or the other because it's his gym, right? But
right.
he seems to think it's going pretty good. He said he's got a decent group in there, and they stay busy. And Noah's in there now. His kids in there now training people, so that's awesome.
That
Like
is
it's like a
really cool.
full blown family business now. Like it's kind of cool. We were in there so long, saw him like go from middle school to graduate to now he's a grown ass adult doing things. So that's cool to see. Not so cool to reflect on how much we've grown or not, but it's cool to see like him come up and find passion in that like his dad did. So
Yeah, I think too that was the other. We had a uniform. That black Sellies t-shirt, you had to earn
yeah,
it. We all wore the black Inzers, black socks, black Vans. Like we were like I have it's a great picture of the girls in Nicola. Um it's like Nicola, Kara, Dana, Anastasia, Lauren, like all kind of standing together in their black shirts and they're watching somebody lift. And like the look on their face, they look like a pride of lionesses. Like just like sharp and dialed in and they're a little scary and like I mean,
yeah,
we used to roll 15, 20 deep into those meets, like
yeah.
in
I loved it.
matching
Like that.
everything. It was so cool.
That was awesome. And like that meet I showed up to in December. Like, they don't do the shirts anymore, and like it's not nearly as organized, I don't think, as it was when we were there because we wanted it to be.
Right.
Um, and like it was still cool because there was like probably 10 of us from Sally's that were competing. Um, but I still roll up in all black with that shirt. Like I take pride in that, and everyone else is just like, who the fuck are you? Like you don't even train there. And it's like, yeah, but I used to, so fuck off.
It's like I'm an
Um,
OG motherfucker, and we're not even
yeah.
close to the OGs, but that's how it feels.
Yeah, right. Like we're like, yeah, to talk to them and be like, who are these clowns? Like they're
Yeah.
nobody. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was cool to go to that meet and compete with all of them, but it didn't have that same feel to it. Like not even close to when we were all in black and showing up and running people out of there.
It was punk rock. We were punk rock deadlifting too. I mean, that was really
Yeah.
like, or powerlifting. Like that was what it was. Like we had our own silly shirts and fucking sayings and like, like the fucking, and even like it ended up kind of being like a splitting thing. But Big Boy season was so fucking cool. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was so much cool shit that came out of the dads, the fathers of three, which is the thing we keep referencing was like a dumb saying that one of us came up with that like you know you're a dad if you hit this and you're an uncle if you can't and,
Right.
Tegan never graduated out of that.
We got to bring that back.
I was making fun of one of the strength coaches the other day because he thought that he could shoot 4 out of 10 free throws. He could make 4 out of 10. I was like, you can't even get your arms over your head. What the fuck are you talking about? You shoot
That would
4
be
out of
tough.
10.
I'd probably, no way would I sign up for that.
No, but
You still talk to those guys a lot? Like, are you still like in close contact with all those guys from Wyoming?
yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to say too much because I'm still waiting on a check to clear. Um,
Yeah.
but I think the outpouring of support that I've received has been very heartwarming, and the number of people that I have talked to that have supported me and are very kind and have great words to say, not only about my time there, but me as a person and my impact and that kind of thing, have been great. And it's really a warm,
Yeah.
fuzzy feeling from, I would say, like 99% of the athletic department. And the 1% that is not warm and fuzzy, they're never gonna be, because I
Yeah.
stood up to the bully. No. But yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that 1% is the one that probably is the one that made the decisions to
Right.
move on too. So that's
It's fine.
unfortunate, but
Yeah, man. I
yeah.
mean, shit happens. Learned a lot. And most importantly, those 15 months, I put my nuts on the table and proved to myself that I can still go and I can still do what I do. And those 15 months, I think, whenever somebody finally pays attention to my resume, will be, oh wow, this is a sleeping gem, because
Yeah.
the work that I did and the numbers that came with it, I think, will speak for themselves. So
I hope so. I mean,
yeah.
you deserve it. I know how much work and how many hours you put into all that. And like I'm sitting over here annoyed that I have to work 40 hours a week from the comfort of my own couch, I couldn't do it. So like that's awesome, and I'm glad you walked away thinking that it was still a good experience, regardless of what happened in the end. So
Yeah,
um
I had to dust it
that makes
off.
me happy. Yeah.
Like, thoughts from the bench is one thing, and this has been, still is the only job I've ever wanted. And when I
Yeah.
got to come back to it, it was, everything clicked right back into place, and it's still my happy everything. But as far as like professionally, like in an atmosphere where like somebody's judging you and somebody's judging your work, like I needed to know that I could still do it, because my job at Highmark was creatively stifling and just did not give me any chance to even like run. You know what I mean? It was like you were just like on a leash the whole time, and part of that was management, part of that was just the way that the work is, because it's a giant corporation and I wasn't
I was
doing
gonna
anything
say that's
external.
yeah, that is corporate America 101
Yeah.
right there.
So I think
Does Tanner still work there?
who?
Does Tanner still work
Yeah.
there?
Yep. He's
Does he
doing
really?
great. Yeah, he's doing great.
Nice.
But
I saw him in December too a little bit, but I didn't get a
oh
chance to
yeah,
talk to him too much. Yeah, he was there for like 30 minutes, I think.
you want to talk about somebody that's been hitting the weights? That kid looks great.
Really?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
He's
But
he was always like hit or miss, I thought. Like I know they were like he was consistent for a while, but then I thought he would just like disappear and then like come back and be gone again.
yeah, I
I don't
think
know.
I think that's how normal people are with
Yeah,
exercise,
that's
Enzo. Not the you
me too.
people.
I'm so like uh my view is so distorted with all of that. You're exactly right. Yeah. I should take that back, I guess. I don't mean anything bad by it.
No, I
But
know.
like I could count on one hand the times I've missed a workout over the past 20 years probably. And like that's not normal. That's fucking weird.
It is fucking weird.
Um but yeah, I don't know. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. I mean it was nice to see him. I'm shocked that he's still there though, but uh some people can stick that corporate life out. And it's like I do not like it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Here I am. So
I think too is, I think in any work environment, when you have somebody that believes in you and fights for you and is actively trying to improve your career, that is such a comforting feeling and such a warm feeling that, like, I can tell you from experience, you will not get everywhere. And
oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
something, I had in my first job that I walked away from because I was young and dumb and didn't really understand what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I've been probably searching for that for most of my career. Is that like, because that's the only way too that you're going to succeed somewhere is when somebody above you is like, hey, this is my guy. Like, this is the person we need to take care of.
Yeah. I mean, that's the system, right?
Right.
And I don't know if I've ever had that, to be honest with you. Like when I first started my job in Pittsburgh, I think my boss was understanding that I was underemployed and he like wanted to work with me and get me to that next level. Um, but then that organization restructured and he was run off after like 6 months of me being hired. And then the new person that came in was just like, I don't care about any of you.
Right.
Um, so like, yeah, like I think the one chance I kind of had of that did not work out in my favor, but um, I'm still searching for that as well. I don't know that it will ever be found either.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things where I don't like working. But like whatever I do, I'm going to do it well enough because my name's attached to it. But like,
Right.
I don't know. I think the system is just like stacked against us in
Yeah.
more ways than one. But
Well, it's because you're not in a gym, though. That's
I mean, that could be it, right? But like, even when I was in the gym, oh man, that's tough. Like, it's a tough industry to like be in and
yeah.
make money in for one. Um, but it's not all that enjoyable either. Like, I think running a gym without worrying that like my name's on it is probably where I would want to be, as opposed to like being a trainer or like owning the gym and knowing that like $500,000 is mine to lose. Like
Right.
I don't want that either.
No.
You know,
Right.
like so if I could have come in to like Selly's or a place like that and like manage that for peanuts or whatever, but I could train there and spend my life in a gym, that'd probably be like the best bet for me to like be happy in like an actual job situation, you know. Because
Yeah.
otherwise it's all just work. I mean, even with that, something you love to do, it's going to be work eventually.
Yeah. I think that's when I tell people what I do, they're always like, "Oh, that sounds like so much fun." It's like, yeah, it's fun not
Yeah, right.
going to Christmas or seeing my wife on her birthday or having a life. Like, it's a blast. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
when you're, filming a game from the baseline of the NCAA tournament, it is pretty fucking fun. Like,
Yeah. Right. I mean, like the perks are great, right? Like you get to
right,
do a lot of cool shit, but I think people see the end product and don't realize how much effort and time and anything else that goes into it. You know, like you probably spend more time editing and whatever else than anything else. And it's just like, yeah, it's like the game for 2 hours is cool, but the 80 hours of work after that suck ass.
well, and even for me, it was the travel. That was always
Yeah,
like
dude. Yeah.
just you're because you can't. It's if I could travel and work, you know what I mean? Because it's dead time, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
have your
Yeah.
laptop open and edit. Like anyone that does that on a plane, I don't understand how they're because you can't see the thing. Like it's just dumb. Um, and you can't have it open half the time on the plane. They make you shut it off or whatever.
Yep.
So I just think like if I could use that time that the travel was to be productive, so that I could have when I was home have free time would have been cool. But shit sucks. Shit
And
sucks.
you
Then
want to
you
go back
die.
to Man, I wish it would suck just a little less.
Yeah.
But like you don't want to go back to something like that involved, right? Like you don't want to go back to something that intense with all that travel on a kind of weekly basis.
I am going at this point. So we're recording this in mid-February. This probably won't come out until March.
Yeah.
But I think that's a tough thing to say because I'm not raining a whole bunch of traction on the not so intense things.
Right. Yeah.
And something I'm wondering is, can I get out of sports? Is that even something that I can do at this point? Or have I, because I've dedicated 6 of my 10 years to athletics and sports, am I stuck? I don't know. I
I
think,
don't know. I mean, you might have to work harder, but I don't think anyone's necessarily stuck, you know.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same way about myself. Like I spent 10 years in finance related things. And when I moved to here to Michigan, I was like, fuck banking, fuck finance. I wanted as far away from it as possible. And then COVID hit and I got a job in finance. And 3 years later, here I am still jacking around with bank statements and whatever else. You know, it's like I kind of feel the same. And I tried to get out of it when I moved here after 10 years and it was hard. And then the pandemic really screwed up my mindset. So like now I'm like thankful. I was thankful for like the first year. And now I'm back to like, fuck this. This is
Yeah.
bullshit. So like I'm just like, am I willing to like quit and put that work in right now? Not really. So I'm just like, doing it until something better comes along or until I have the energy to put into finding
Right.
something different.
I think
Um, but yeah.
go ahead. Did you have another thought?
No, not
Oh.
really. I was just like I know that how much work it's gonna be and like I don't have like the bandwidth mentally capacity wise to like do that right now. Um but like I probably need to because this is like crushing my soul to still do something I dislike this much, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part of it is that it's not like if I hated sports, that would be one thing, but I don't. Like
Yeah, sports are cool.
sports are sick and it's still
Yeah.
my that's all I've ever wanted was sports. All I've ever wanted to do was be in the NHL. That's all I've ever
Yeah.
wanted to do is make hockey my living, breathing fucking life. And so when somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to come be a part of a sports team?" It's hard to say no. Um,
Right.
but I also know what comes with it that you're not going to be home for Christmas. You're not going to be home on nights and weekends. And that during the season, you're not going to have time to breathe. And those things are intense, but they're also like, amazing. And some of the friends that I've made from doing these are some of the most, loyal humans on the planet. I applied to the Philadelphia Flyers today, Enzo.
I was gonna bring something up to you because the Wings tweeted something the other day about how they had a bunch of job openings. So I looked and I was like, son of a bitch. Like they're all like internships and
Yeah.
like that's not gonna work, man. Like this dude needs to get paid. But like I'm constantly looking for you for this area as
Oh,
well.
well, thanks.
I know you don't want to live in Michigan or Detroit, but it would be sick.
No, I would
Um,
go to Detroit to be a wing in a heartbeat.
but
Are you
yeah, well,
kidding
yeah,
me?
yeah. The Wings are something special just because they've been around for so long.
Original
But
six, son. Eiserman.
um,
Lynn
the
Chilligan. Come on.
yeah, speaking of the '90s, Iserman was like on my sister's wall in the '90s, and she didn't even fucking like hockey. You know,
It's because he was tight.
um, he was tight. Um, I don't know if I can get behind the Flyers though. That's kind of a tough one.
But and it's funny because so where I was going with this is that I reached out to everybody from Penn State and I was like, hey, does anybody know
Oh,
anybody at the
yeah.
Flyers? And like all these people are like jumping, like, hey, let me call for you, let me text for you, let me, and it's just like those relationships are so incredible. But the funny thing was, and they've all asked this, they're like, can you, Mr. Pittsburgh, go work for the Flyers? Like the one
Right,
thing you've hated longer than you like before I could even tell you what hate meant, I hated the Flyers. I hated that logo. I hated
right.
those colors. And I said, the question was, can you imagine yourself working for the Flyers? I said, no, but I can imagine myself in the NHL. And if that means I have to wear orange and black, so be it. And then I put the gif from Dodgeball, where she's like, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean you can always wear like red and black under or black
Black
and
and
yellow
gold.
undershirts or something. Yeah,
Well, I just said that I'd never wear the logo.
yeah.
It was
Good luck
funny.
getting around that.
Well, because it was so funny because I texted my brother the job listing and I was like, could I? And he's like, are you kidding me? That's actually the best situation for you because they're the bad guys of the NHL.
Yeah,
Like that, and that's the character I like to play the most is the bad guy. So like, can you imagine if the
yeah, dude.
Flyers were good and I had the wheels? Like, oh, forget it, forget it.
That I mean, to be honest with you though, like I think you'd have to put a lot aside. But if that's like your dream and that's where you want to be, like why would you not take that opportunity to at least try? You know, um, people are going to give you shit about it for the rest of your life if you get it though and you work for them. But so what, right? Like you're getting paid to watch hockey. Fuck, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think yeah, the sports jobs I'm applying to get a more direct answer are based in places that I want to live, right? So like
Yeah, right.
Seattle, California, Denver, that kind of thing. And then otherwise, if I'm applying to a job that's not in a place that I want to live, it's something that is not in sports. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I guess.
Yeah, I mean
Do you have like a timeline you need to get a job by, or like are you good?
um yes and no.
Yeah.
I need we're okay financially no matter what. Our lease is up in June. So the question is, if I don't have a job by June, what do we do? Because we're not staying here.
Right.
We can't fucking stay here. So it's where are we going, right?
Yeah.
And then at that point, it's looking like either Denver or California, maybe Seattle or Portland.
That makes it tough though, because like as soon as you move, you know someone's gonna call you and be like, "Hey, I got a job for you, but you got to move here," and it's not gonna be where the fuck you are,
Right?
and that's just really annoying.
Right. But yeah, I
Man,
mean,
Seattle's cool. I would move to Seattle in a heartbeat. It's expensive as fuck though, but
well, that's the other kicker of this, is that wherever we move, it'll be on one income, and so like it's a nice income, but still in a California, in a Seattle, in a Portland, that one income is going to dry up much faster than it would.
Yeah, that nice income
Laramie,
turns into just an income.
Yeah.
That's what we did when we moved here, and like that's kind of the reason why we chose here, because it was cheaper,
right?
And I didn't have a job, so I mean it worked out for us. COVID, as much as it sucked, it kind of like saved my ass, and it allowed us to save a lot of money. So like we're in a much better position now than we were before. But this certainly wasn't really like my top choice. Like we really wanted to move to Oregon as well, not necessarily Portland, because Portland is just like any other mid-sized city to me. It's nothing special. But like I wanted to either move to Bend or like closer to the coast. But it's so expensive out there too. Like,
yep.
At the time, Sarah wasn't making the money. She is now either. So it was like, that's a step backwards. Like at that point, we might as well have just stayed in Pittsburgh, and I could have been unemployed in Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
So that's tough. Yeah. I mean, having gone through that recently, it sucks.
No, but you have.
But it works out, right? But like it always seems to work out. Like it's going to work out at least one way or the other. It has to.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So that's your message for the day.
That's it.
Just fucking tighten your butthole, hold on, lift a weight, it'll work out.
Clench it.
Start playing the bass.
Yeah. I need to do that too. Maybe I'll do that later today.
There you go.
I got to get my practice in still.
Well, Zoe, I'm so glad we finally got you on. I think, this is my happy place, and you've been a supporter of it from literally the first episode. And I'm just super thankful to have you on and to talk to you. And I love you, brother.
Hey, I love you too. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
We got to spend the most loving day with each other. It's great.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah. Take your wife out to dinner or something, or cook her some bacon and eggs at home or something.
She's throwing pottery tonight. I'm a bachelor.
Oh shit.
I'm just at my house playing Pokemon.
That's really funny, because Sarah is going to knit night. She's knits all the time now. So she's got like some knitting meetup, and I'm going to be doing the same. I'm going to be sitting on my couch doing nothing, probably watching shitty TV. So gotta love it for us. That's the married life right there.
Yep. That's it. All right. This has been a great depression.
had enough? Don't you think we've had enough? I think we've had enough. Let's reset the dialogue. Let's reset the dialogue.
I missed the woo. Woo, what's the, has an argument?